What's up, everybody? It's Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff. He's Chad. Do us a solid. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 200,000. We're creeping up there. It's kind of cool just to think about.
We're at the 187.
Jump into the specs chat if you're watching this live, and jump into the comments section. Got a little bit of a doozy of a conversation as it relates to Texas v. Texas A&M. We're edging closer and closer and closer to a game that just feels like is going to be kicked off any moment now. And Chad, I told you, it's funny. We ended up in the same space. I woke up this morning, and one of the first tweets I saw was from a show friend of ours, Peter Burns from ESPN. We've had him on our shows a number of times.
Yep.
He had a tweet that said, biggest opportunity for A&M this weekend isn't to go undefeated, isn't to go into the SEC championship game for the first time this season, isn't to go to the college football playoff for the first time. It's to finally put to bed the perceived big brother, little brother dynamic in that rivalry. I saw that. It kind of stopped me in my tracks. I knew I was going to bring that up in the show. And then you unsolicited kind of brought this storyline up yourself as part of, this is a big part of this game. And I'll be honest, as someone who's looking at this primarily from the Texas side, I don't know that I quite see it like that. So I'm curious, is this what this moment feels like for Texas A&M?
I mean, I think in a way it does. And I think everything Peter mentioned ties together. I think doing what he says at the end also gets the Aggies all the other stuff. For me, it's just a simple conversation catch of, are they a part of this thing or not? There's a narrative about the Aggies. It is that they go 8-4, they will let you down, and in the end, push comes to shove, the Longhorns are going to be better than them. And the Longhorns are going to be better than them in a rivalry where they matter and the Aggies really don't. That's the narrative. So the opportunity, to me, this is fantastic college football theater on every level, because the Aggies can see the door. The door is clearly marked. The door is right in front of them. And they can't get there, though, without playing them, without playing that team, the team that some of them wanted to run away from, the team that some of them wanted to just get away from and see if they could do it without them. We're going to go to the SEC and we're going to be a part of this thing. Not quite yet. So now to be a part of it, like a real part of it, like up at the top, like, do you get to go to Atlanta? Do you get to fight for the ultimate, right? The big gold pen holder. Do you get to do all of that? Well, you do. Yeah. But you got to beat those guys. And oh, by the way, you got to beat them in Austin. Because last year they had to beat you in College Station to establish themselves as a we can play for an SEC title kind of team. Well, here you go, Aggies. It's your turn now. On the road, win the game. You get everything else that Peter laid out at the beginning, but more critically, Catch, I think, yes, you get to at least lay out an argument that this is, forget about big brother, little brother. It's always going to be that. But you got to prove that little brother's got some fight. You got to prove what Clemson proved a few years ago, that you can be a modern day kind of a power. That's what A&M's trying to do.
Couple of thoughts. Number one, Big Bird 3910. Terrific name. Answer to the show title. ... No. LOL. Fair enough. I have not given my response yet. I think I'm going to approach this from multiple perspectives, including the correct perspective, because I'm always correct.
Obviously. What else would we expect, right?
In the event that Big Bird didn't get enough in for $1.99, he was like, let me get to the front of the line, because you can flip the script in 1 year by one game in one sport, ... Right. I'm saying that like Nipsey Russell, by the way, in Wildcats. Right.
Yes, more peanut
... Look, yeah. There's two ways for me. You're not wrong in the sense, I think the way that you've laid it out, I don't know. I think Big Bird is right to say it's been 5,480 days since A&M beat Texas. That
Here's another
that A&M has this, Now look, Chad's got a stat that in his lifetime, which he's 50. Sorry, Chad, didn't mean to put your business out there, but I think you said that in your column as a lead up. So
yes,
public consumption, right?
Yes.
I'm 49 for those of you that just to keep it fair. In his lifetime, the number of games going into Friday is 1919, correct?
That's correct. 19-0.
So there's a lot of ways to frame this rivalry, but in the big brother, little brother, and I brought this up to you because I was like, I don't know, man. If Auburn beats Alabama on Saturday, right? They're not little brother. Now, if an A&M fan wants to say, well, Texas, you're not Alabama, touche. Right. But I'm thinking of where this thing kind of exists, and I don't think that the outcome of any game ever decides that. I think it decides all these other things more than it decides that.
Yeah, again, for the record, if Peter Burns is making an argument that the Aggies are trying to become the big brother in the rivalry, that's silly.
I don't think that's exactly what he said.
I don't either. I think he's talking about the dynamic, which is a different discussion than that's nuts. Any Aggie that dreams of that, they're fooling themselves. That's never going to happen. The issue is, and I'll let you get back to your argument. The issue to me is do what Auburn has done at times. Yeah. Show that you're a little brother that can stand up to big brother and play for all of it. The Aggies have not done that in the modern era.
Now can I take the traditional prisms off through which we see this, which I think is historically, this is how we kind of think about Texas and Texas A&M. And I got to be honest, and I actually, maybe this isn't the right way because I'm going to describe something that I think a lot of our viewers will absolutely reject. And it is very much kind of this emotional, I'm going to point to two teams. I'm going to point to 2023 Texas, who in the final year of the Big 12 didn't beat Oklahoma, didn't play A&M, didn't play Arkansas. They lost in a game that they're still pretty bitter over to Oklahoma, a game they feel like if they played 10 times, they win 8 of them. Yeah. But on that day, Oklahoma beat them.
Messy game.
You know what? That game doesn't mean jack squat with regards to how that season is remembered. We are now in an era of college football, and it's changed and become that even more. And crazy, in less than 2 years, it's followed. Why? Well, real quick, 2023 Longhorns, they still win the Big 12. They still go to the college football playoff. They still lose in the semifinals, and that is the only way we really remember that team now. They were in the Final Four. They've been to back-to-back semifinals. Nothing else matters. When we look at 2024 Ohio State, they lost a couple of games. They lost their last regular season game that kept them out of a Big Ten championship. They even go into this weekend a little bit of like, well, they can't beat Michigan. It's like they're the defending national champions. You know what? Ohio State fans don't like the Michigan thing. But their seasons aren't symbolized by Michigan anymore. And it is maybe the biggest example that I can give that in 2025 and beyond, just like in NCAA basketball, by the way, what matters is, did you get in the tournament? Did you win in the tournament?
Oh, yeah.
And you're either a tournament team or you're not. And so for me, this isn't about big brother, little brother for Texas A&M. For me, this is about they should have already been here. See, I don't look at A&M the same way that I view other like maybe a lot of Texas fans view A&M. A year ago, I looked at A&M as one of the 5 most talented teams in college football.
Right. You pointed out it was a disappointment that they didn't make the playoff, especially
they were underperforming. They were like
especially when you start 7-1.
And Texas is threatening with the same thing this year. The difference is Texas has been to the playoffs. They've won some games. They've established themselves as that kind of a program. This is what this season is for A&M. It's when this is over with, who are they as a program? And it has nothing to do with Texas. Because if they get to the national semifinals and go out in the Final Four, they won't be talking about Texas.
That's fair.
they go beyond that. They won't be talking about Texas. If they get to the quarterfinals and go out, or quite frankly, if they were played right now, the playoff thing got announced yesterday. They're in the 8-9 game? Wait, no. They're a 3 seed. What's the 8-9's OU Notre Dame?
Right. No, they play the winner of 6-11. Which is right now is the Miami. It's the ACC team against, who is that?
Well,
Ole Miss, maybe.
Regardless, they're going to get to the quarterfinals. It is a little bit of kabuki theater that we play in these regular season games now, where we act like they matter and they kind of don't. They do if you lose them, and then you don't have the playoffs as a byproduct. But if you have a playoff game after one of these games, they don't matter.
Right.
And so
no
matter what happens in this game for me, the thing that A&M has been able to do, and here's how you know I'm right.
Okay.
If they beat Texas, the very next week, it becomes the second most important game they played all season. And then it'll become the third most important game they played. And if things go well, it becomes the fourth most important game that they played. It's the most important game up until now, but it's like a good magic trick. This thing's going to be executed one way or the other, and then we move on to the next thing. There's another magic trick, and I don't spend forever trying to figure out how you did that. I'll think about it later, but there's more to come, and there's a big finale, and the big finale is the thing that ultimately we remember the magic show for. It's not like in an hour-long magic show we're quibbling over what happens in the first 15 minutes. It's what's the conclusion? What's his big act? And A&M has played themselves in. This is where this game is really interesting. A&M, Chad, has played themselves into this game where no matter what, this is not their big act. And Texas has played out of their way into something bigger, that this game is actually exactly that. This is how they will be largely defined, and I just don't think it will be for A&M. And I think what A&M, the fan base, has got to stop doing, they got to stop doing what you and Peter Burns just did. And I know Peter Burns is an LSU fan, but you guys got to start thinking of yourselves as a national brand competing at a national level. If you're Louisville basketball, on some level, you just can't worry about Kentucky. You just got to go be you. And the thing is, I know A&M doesn't have the skins on the wall that a Louisville has, right? So it's easier to say be Louisville before you're Louisville, but that to me has got to be the goal. The goal's got to be forget about Texas. Let's focus on us. And you know how you get out of little brother syndrome? You stop bringing it up, period. You just let whatever your achievements are be what the achievements are. I don't know, like a lot of these famous men, I don't know if they're big brothers, little brothers, middle brothers. I don't know where they would be on the Brady family tree. They just end up being so successful that stuff has to stop being explained. And that's how I look at the Aggies. They're almost at a level they should have been at the last couple of years. Then what do they do with it? Because I will say, if they forget, regardless of what happens in this game, Chad, if they can get to a national semifinal at the end, when this season ends, they're in the Final Four. Well, then they're even with Texas as a football program. In the most globally 30,000 feet up view possible, they've now done what Texas has done. There's nothing that Texas in this current mode will have accomplished, really, that A&M wouldn't have accomplished, and I think that's what they're playing for. I think that is how you eliminate little brother, big brother. It ain't this game.
If you guys want to jump in the chat, feel free. Get us a super chat. They'll go right to the top of the list. We're also going to thank some of our great partners today. Let's talk food. Let's start with a pork chop out at Hayes City Store. That's the grilled version. They got a blackened version. They got a chicken fried version. If you've never had a chicken fried pork chop, do yourself a favor. Go out to Hayes City and have it. Make sure you get some of that incredible cream gravy. Their cream gravy is just one of my favorite things on earth. Those onion rings are excellent. Y'all know I love some Brussels sprouts. I talk about them too much. I know. They've got plenty more sides for you, and drinks and pizza and burgers and just awesome stuff. The home run dip appetizer is my favorite way to start. Tell them you heard about it on OB Live when you hit Hayes City Store. Also, remember, you want to come watch the game with us on Black Friday night, get on out to TCH Social Austin. We're going to fire it up on that giant screen. I'll give you a better look at it in a second. There are your specials. $2 drafts, including Stella, $3 jellyfish, $4 on that cocktail, $12 for the wing special. Texas and Texas A&M is going to be right there in the middle. Every little screen you see there is 55 inches, by the way, if you need a comparison. 183 and Anderson Mill. Come see us. The watch party should be fun. Then, after these two guys get doing what they're going to do, Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm will sponsor the post-game show. So get ready to pile in at the 2-minute warning of this one. Again, if you have any super chats, let us know. I don't see any super chats right now, but thank you guys for jumping in the chats. If you want to throw some predictions in today, you can. See a lot of confidence in the chat today that the Longhorns are going to get this done and knock the Aggies back a little bit. Catch, I think the ingredient of Atlanta is key here for me. I loved that storyline last year, even though the Aggies didn't feel like they should be in spot to go to Atlanta because they lost those games. But the notion here of, and I know Texas fans won't necessarily think about it this way, but Texas fans do love to rip on the Aggies for how long it's been since they've won a conference title, even played for a conference title. They can keep them from it. They can keep them out of Atlanta. Now, your point is excellent in terms of the big stuff. That's why I started it. Remember, I didn't start it with, this is about big brother, little brother. I said, is A&M part of the discussion, the big discussion? And
I'm just saying we led off with the tweet from Peter Byrne. So,
but I think that it's, again, it gets you to that next step to me. If you can do it, you got to show that in this rivalry game, because like somebody said in the chat, somebody in the chat said they expect A&M to win. So when you're in one of those rival games where little brother is expected to win, the team that's not always winning is expected to win, well, they're the ones with a little more pressure. They're the ones with a little more to carry. Can they do it? Can they carry it out? But your point ultimately is a great one because it goes back to what I've been saying to Aggies Catch for years, which is I get all the dogma, I get all the stuff, I get all the songs, I get the hand gesture that you've made yours, even though it wasn't yours to start with, whatever. But at some point, you got to figure out what your life is outside of them. Your entire world can't be, I've heard Aggies say it like other fan bases. I don't care if we go 1-11 as long as we beat them. And I always say,
can I ask you a question?
And I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard a fan say. They set themselves up to have a playoff, even if they lost to Texas, which is great for the Aggies to be able to think about, but it's going to be a version where you still haven't played for that conference title. So you still haven't you still haven't achieved a goal that you've had since you entered this conference.
I'm going to give you two scenarios. I want your opinion, and then I want what you think your dad's opinion would be.
Okay.
Option one, you beat Texas. You lose in the SEC championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lose in the quarterfinals, like the true quarterfinals, not because I think there's a world out there where if they lose in the SEC championship game, they can fall out of the top four. If they beat Texas, lose in the SEC championship, but
probably have to play that first round. You're saying they'd get a win and then lose in the round of 8. Okay, gotcha.
So that's what you get if you beat Texas.
Okay, that's option one.
Option two is you lose to Texas, you make it to the national semifinals.
Right.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, I think my dad and I would both take option two.
National semifinals. You're not playing in an SEC championship game.
Correct.
You're losing to Texas.
Yes. But ultimately, we know what this is. I lived for 48 years with no system. There's no guarantee that you're winning. You're just getting to the semifinals. No, that's cool. No. I would absolutely take that. To be able to talk about a Final Four appearance after going my whole life where there was no system, there were plenty of years where there was a really good Aggie team, but there wasn't a place for them. Man, you guys are awesome. Go play in the Cotton Bowl and be happy. Huh? What? There's no system. No, there's no system. Like today, I'm thinking, Catch, we're going to talk to Brian Jones this week. I always think about what if the Shock the Nation Longhorns and the Aggie team they beat were both in a playoff that year?
Well,
Think about those football teams. So I have not gotten the opportunity to see that. So now that there's a real system, which to this moment, A&M has still not figured out their way in. They got close one year, but they didn't get in to whatever the system was. Now it's actually a real system with enough spots. It looks like they're going to get into it. And you're telling me they're getting to the Final Four of it? Absolutely. Absolutely, I'll take that. I'll take that, and you can make whatever the loss to Texas is you want. You can make it 28-0. You can make it 77-0. Go ahead. But we're getting to the
careful.
But
77-0, like careful.
Whatever the loss you want to ride up is fine if that's the ending. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal for everybody. So I would take the Final Four.
Isn't that, though, proof of the point that I'm making? Like, because what you just talked out, I just gave you an exercise, and you just said, I'll take the loss to Texas. I don't give a damn about the SEC championship game, which, if you beat Texas, you're telling you guys, if you win on Friday, are not immediately after the game saying, SEC championship game, not a big deal. You're not. Like, it's a big deal.
Of course it's a big deal, but you laid it out that they lost it. You didn't give me an option of lose to Texas, but take your chances in Atlanta. But you didn't do that. You said,
so let me give you option C.
Option 3. Okay, wait, there's a third option now. Third option.
You beat Texas.
Uh-huh.
You win the SEC.
Uh-huh.
You lose your first playoff game.
Win this year.
Because you're the 2 seed, or you're probably the 2 seed in that situation. So
right. I mean, that's a tough, because if you do that and you win the first playoff game would then be in the quarterfinal round. You probably get a playoff win the other way. Those two are tighter. Those two are closer. I guess in the end you'd probably still go with a Final Four berth. But man, there's a lot. There would be a lot to that. Look, whenever this Aggie team loses, unless they actually win the national title, there are going to be Longhorn fans and national fans that destroy them. They're going to get destroyed. They are, because of who they are supposed to be. They could lay out
one more scenario for you.
They could lose by 4 in the national title game, and somebody's going to go on social media and say, Aggies are still the Aggies. Like, it's going to happen. So I
think I've got you in check. I don't have you in checkmate yet, but I feel like a defense attorney that I got you on the ropes, and I just have one more question for the witness.
Excellent. I love the fact that you think one of us is wrong here. Go ahead.
No, because I think I've made a larger point that you are emphatically confirming.
Please land your plane.
Next year, you've beaten Texas and you've won the SEC, right? Mm-hmm. Novelty phase is over. In a year from now, I'm asking you the exact same question. And I say, you can beat Texas. You can win now you've got these things under your belt. You've done them. You can beat Texas at home. You can win the SEC, but to do so, you have to lose in the first round of the tournament.
And that would be
answer next year.
And what happened this year again?
You won the SEC and you beat Texas.
Okay.
But so if I lost in the playoff.
I see. So if option 3 played out this year, what would you do next year is what you're saying?
If the same option presents itself and you took you took option A before because you've never won the SEC and because beating Texas allowed you to do this thing. But what do you do the next season now that you've done it once?
Right. Because, if you went through that part one time and you beat Texas and you'd won the SEC, then I think at that point it would be a clear choice to go with the Final Four.
Probably forevermore.
I mean, I would think so. And again, I'm telling you, I think that's probably the choice. I mean, ultimately, that's the choice today. But it
gives you a lot to at least think about. You're like,
it would definitely be the choice moving forward. Because, the other thing we always have to understand is these games are special for a reason. And there are Ohio State people that won the national title last year, and they're still pissed. They're still mad. And they still want to end this thing with Michigan. Like there's still an ingredient of that. So even if A&M were to go on some crazy playoff run and maybe even knock off a team somebody thinks they can't knock off, would it be awesome? Would it be great? Yeah. But if on the backside of that, they had to eat like a 35-17 loss in Austin, it'd still sting. It would still piss them off on a certain level. It's never going to be thought of as nothing. It can't be, because it is one of these games, and you and I have always dreamed that it could be a game of this type. It's sort of in the neighborhood where I've always thought it could be, but it never is. It's only the 4th ranked matchup in Austin ever. That's pathetic with these two teams. They both need to be up in these discussions every year. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we're getting, closer to that with this version.
There's a world out there, and I think this also hits my point home really hard, Texas fans. There's a world out there where they beat OU, Arkansas, and A&M by double digits in the same year, and we'll look back at this and go, wasn't a good season. It was a failure. And we're not very far removed from where a lot of fans would say, hell, I almost don't even care what happens if you're telling me that we ring the bell on the Holy Trinity, because that didn't happen a whole lot. I mean, you got to go back quite a ways when those games were all being played.
Yeah, we talked about that
at the same time, and even go to like 2004, and you beat Arkansas and you beat A&M, but Oklahoma gets you. There's always, like in 2003, you lose to Arkansas, you lose to Oklahoma, you beat A&M. You know what I mean? Like even these rare years where they've played each other. It's been a long time since that's happened, and yet college football is what it is in 2025 in a way where you could drill the 3 teams that you care the most about beating from a rivalry standpoint, and then still walk away going, yeah, it's still a failure. We had a option number. Hold on. I didn't mean to bring this up. We'll go ahead and ask this one. Who needs to lose, and how bad does Texas need to win to get the 10 spot in college, the CFP? Chad, you want to take that on?
Oh, geez. Let's see. To get them in, they don't. Georgia Tech beating Georgia would help in a way, but not. I mean, that's not a huge one. Let's see. They need Ohio State beating Michigan would help now that Michigan jumped past them. That's one of the first ones I'd look at. You'd like Tennessee to beat Vanderbilt.
Yep.
If USC could lose, that would not be bad news for Texas.
They're going to get a big bump if they beat A&M and do so emphatically.
Right.
You're helped by every team in front of them losing. Michigan, Ohio State, I would say, you can take that to the bank, but I thought that about Oklahoma and A&M. I think what you've got to do.
And root for LSU, obviously. LSU, honestly, that might be the biggest one. Getting Oklahoma another loss would be massive for Texas. Massive. And that it sounds weird, but root as hard as you can for that weird LSU group to go to Norman and maybe figure it out on Saturday.
You really need chaos at a time when in the last few weeks there really hasn't been any. Last one before we pay a bill. ATX, this is one I meant to bring up. ATX Bait says, scenario 5, you lose to Texas, you beat OU in the first round, then lose in the semifinals. Would beating OU in the playoffs make up for losing to Texas?
That's an interesting way to look at it, Bates. Bates knows. Bates talked to me. He knows I don't love OU at all.
You're still getting to the semifinals in this scenario.
I think it's the semifinal thing, Bates. It almost doesn't matter how you're telling me the Aggies would get there. I think it's that semifinal berth of, I mean, that's what's ultimately important. If these things are there, you got to do it. Yes. Semifinal. Absolutely.
By the way, just to clear the board, Mark says for $5. Thank you, Mark. Didn't mean to run you last. I just was knocking them off. Chad, good luck to your Ags. I don't think he means it. You're a good dude. I think he does mean that. And take our jabs. He knows that. I hope the game lives up to our hype on both sides. That would be awesome. But FOU, hate them.
Hey, we can all agree on that, right? Everybody in the house divided can agree on that. Mark, I hope it is I hope it's, the kind of game I'm thinking it could be too. I think it's an absolute. I think there's a fight waiting to happen, man. It's going to be a heck of a game. I got 31-28 Aggies. I had it at about a 7-point game. The Moss thing. As soon as Mike Elko said the words "probably not," I shrunk my margin pretty fast. So I'm going to go 31-28. I am putting trust in Reuben Owens that I don't quite know if it's warranted. I hope I feel good about it afterwards, but we'll see. So I got a close Aggie win, but I would not be surprised if it goes the other way.
Let's pay a bill. I'll give you my prediction because I think you are missing the boat on one very, very critical thing. And I think you need to adjust your score because of it.
I am shocked that you feel that way. You want Thanksgiving or you want to look at the picnic from Specs?
Oh, we got to do the Thanksgiving because it'll be over with on Thanksgiving.
There you go. Let's take a look at the pie and everybody coming in for Specs. Get all stocked up.
When loved ones all gather for gourmet delight, Specs raises spirits all through the night. Thanksgiving is here to bring out the best. Wine pairing is caring and leaves guests impressed. Nothing's off limits, sweatpants or black tie. Just leave enough room for Specs pecan pie. Shop thousands of ways to upgrade your thankful. Specs lower prices keep wallets quite tranquil. So raise a glass and sing your praisings. When you stock up at Specs, it's cheers to savings.
Yes, indeed. Good-looking people in that spot, too. All right, Catch, what am I missing here?
I just don't think you got enough points scored in this game.
Really? You think everybody goes into the 30s?
I think, you look at A&M. They gave up 365 to Diego Pavia. They gave up like 380-something to Blake Shapen or whoever the hell was playing quarterback for Mississippi State that day.
Texas did.
No, I'm talking about –
You said A&M did.
I mean, Texas did. Yes, yeah. Texas did. So I expect that A&M is going to score more points. And then I look at Texas, and I think in the last 2 weeks, this is really critical. I think they've shown that if you play bad defense against them, they're ready to score points. And I don't think that that's who they've been since maybe the end of the Mississippi State game. That since that Mississippi State game, the offense has been kind of juggernaut-ish.
Yeah. They've been rolling.
Everybody's done to Arkansas what they've done, but the real question about that was, can Texas do it? Like, they've played a bunch of teams that we've thought this year, this is a 40-burger kind of a game, and like they just should because that's who they're playing, and they played down to their competition.
So I haven't heard your prediction yet. Are you pushing towards more of a Notre Dame, Arkansas kind of score for this, like what the Aggies had to deal with?
Not quite that.
Okay.
But I think you probably could add a touchdown almost. I've got 34-30.
34-30. Okay.
About a touchdown more worth of points than you.
Yeah, so we're right there. I was at 34-27, I think was my first prediction.
But before. I think I'm going under. I think it's more likely that there are even more points than it's likely that there will be less points than 34-30. I think if you want to look at what I've done on Prize Picks, more on Arch Manning's passing yards at 250 something like.
Yeah, that feels like it'll go above.
They're not going to run the ball.
I would.
And they've got Marshall Reed, I think, at 213 or something like that. And it's
tell you what, if Owens doesn't go off, nobody's running the ball. This is going to be a quarter. That's why I keep going back to that quarterback rating. These two quarterbacks are going to have to heavy lift through this whole ball game.
And look, I mean, A&M is a team that will give up some plays in the passing game. Like, these are two defenses. A&M hasn't played, well, they haven't really played anybody. The LSU game's the last time they played somebody you thought had a pulse. Mm-hmm. I don't know if in the end, did A&M take their pulse or did LSU show up that day pulseless, and that's just what that game revealed.
Right.
But A&M hasn't really played a big boy team. It's not their fault. You play who you play. You play who the schedule gives you.
Right. They ended up
playing. What it is. We thought that South Carolina game would have been one of the best teams in the SEC playing that game.
Right. The last part of their schedule, LSU, Missouri, and South Carolina, I think we all thought would have some substance to them. By the time A&M played all three, there was just something going on with all three teams.
And look, to their credit, they bashed LSU in Baton Rouge. That'll be a historically memorable game that in 20 years from now, A&M fans will remember. Remember the day we just beat the ever-living crap out of them and they fired their coach afterwards? Like that. Yeah. will
And
be
they should.
remembered forever.
They should. Anybody who beats LSU by that many points in a night game, I don't care what the excuse is. You brag your ass off about that.
If we're going to remember 77-0 forever because of its epicness, then you got to remember the epicness when they swing the other way around. And like that was a big win for A&M. But I just think there are going to be more points in this game. I think that it really is going to, I think both are going to hit 30. And I just think the question is, who do you trust more in this game? And for me, if you put Arch Manning on A&M's team, they're better. And I think if you put Marcel Reed on this Texas team, they're not. And that I don't mean that to be necessarily a slight at Marcel Reed, because I do think he's a good player. And look, he's had a better season than Arch has. But I don't think there are very few quarterbacks in the country who've been asked to carry the load that, and look, this is a load that when you're the number one quarterback in the country, you're supposed to be asked. You know, it's not supposed to be too heavy to carry if you're the number one guy in the country. And I would say not playing with a worse O-line, worse running game, worse wide receivers, worse tight end, maybe worse coaching, all of that on this year's team versus last year's team. He hasn't completely gone through it unscathed. We know that. But by the end of the year, this is, and really since September, take that Kentucky game out of the way, he's either been the best or the second best player in every game that Texas has played since Florida, with the exception of the Kentucky game. That was brutal. And don't let anybody try to be like, oh, but Ketch, you can't just say, what about, like, I am, while acknowledging Mama always said there'd be days like that for a starting quarterback on the road, no matter what his name is. It was one of those. But the sample size is now 8 games, right? 1 out of 8, he was really bad.
Right.
7 out of the other 8, he's been either the best or the second best player on this Texas offense in every game. And I think now we're at a point late in the season where I thought last week, I thought Ryan Wingo, Emmett Mosley, Parker Livingston, and DeAndre Moore as a group were the best that they've been all season long.
Yep.
We might be able to argue that the Vanderbilt game before that, the first 3 quarters, was the best that they've looked as a group. We're seeing this team on offense, at least in the passing game, peak at the end of the season. And it's why they're at home.
Yeah.
Got Colin Simmons, and A&M doesn't. And I know A&M's got really good defensive players, but the best player in this game is Colin Simmons.
Aggies have one of those too.
But the best player in this game, because whatever we want to say of A&M's good player, we're not saying he's the best defensive end in the school's history. And that is where we are with Colin Simmons. What he's doing, while the numbers are similar, they're not in a lot of ways. I think the best player on the field plays for Texas. I think the best quarterback plays for Texas. They're playing this at home. I'm giving them the most narrow of victories because I actually do have a lot of respect for this A&M team. And I think Concepcion and Craver and that whole lot, I think they're going to baptize this Texas secondary. And it may be to a degree that Texas loses the game, but I think they're going to win a close one. But it is going to be
okay.
You know what it might be, Chad?
What's that? Real quick, to be clear, you said the score, but I didn't hear you say the team. You're picking 34-30 Texas.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think this may be remembered as the best game in the history of the rivalry. We don't have a lot of those.
There's not a lot.
It's got to be better than 1990, which was sensational.
Yeah, it's going to have to do a lot.
But we've gone 35 years and haven't had
a
game that we just go, you know what? Yeah, we were on the losing side, but that was badass 60 minutes of football. Like, sucks.
Right. Well, and you just said the key part, badass 60 minutes. These two teams, if they can both prove that they can go 60 minutes, because both have had their bizarre moments this year, then maybe you compete with 1990. If you could make the machine that could take either of those teams in 1990 and match them up with the other in 2025, I'll take the 1990 team all day. Either way, 90 Texas against these Aggies is a boat race. The 90 Aggies against this Texas team, it would not be close. Neither would be a close game. Old man comment of the day. But these two teams need to show that they can play 4 quarters, because both of them have had moments of like, Really? If the first half that each put out against Mississippi State shows up, this is the worst game of the series, Catch. It might go below 2001 for me, which is the worst game I've ever seen these two play. That god-awful 21-7 mess in College Station. It was wretched. It was horrible to watch. It goes below that if these two show up the way they did against the Bulldogs. 6-3 Aggies at the half, I think was the score in College Station. And we know how Texas started against Mississippi State. Anything but that, Longhorns and Aggies, please.
Let's pay a bill, and then we got a $20 super chat, and then it'll be about that time.
Yes, sir. Let's give AV Consultations one more bit of love. Here's the holiday spot. Think about that cool setup you've always wanted. Tom's going to tell you about it.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street, hold the door for people behind us, tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before, give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt, sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop, watch some games with your friends, and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics, but more importantly, have a great holiday season and a friggin' awesome next year.
So I realized Tom recorded that spot maybe a little while ago. It's one he goes back to in the holidays, Catch. You think you can get away with just patting a random stranger on the butt in 2025?
No.
They don't let you do that anymore. I mean, you try that in a mall. I just think you're going to get in a fight. That's elite.
That's the fight might be the best case scenario.
I'm just saying. All right, here's that $20 super chat Catch mentioned from Jason. Catch, if Texas upsets A&M and misses the playoff, which seems likely, shouldn't we immediately remove every big-time out-of-conference game in the future? Oh, put it on a tee for him, Jason.
I mean, Jason, work smarter, not harder. And this season is going to end up, look, if you take the Ohio's, everybody's like, oh, you lost to Florida, blah, blah, blah. Take that Ohio State game away, replace it with Rice. And Texas is 9-2 coming into this game. They're maybe in the 8-9 game. They're ahead of Oklahoma.
They're in that spot OU's in right now.
So
probably.
You don't have to change anything else other than you don't play that difficult game to open the season. You're not only in, you're kind of in an enviable spot. You're not really even sweating anything out, as long as obviously you would need to win this weekend. Like, that is the jeopardy of this game. Actually, is if Texas hasn't played Ohio State, this game does suddenly. The jeopardy is like one team is trying to make the SEC championship game. The other team's trying to make sure they don't miss the playoffs. It doesn't quite have that. There's a different level of desperation behind it. But yes, Jason, yes.
Catch, you know that old saying, right, about who Texas needs to play in non-conference to get college football's attention? Nobody.
Ask Ole Miss.
They're Texas. And nowadays, even that's a good example, too. Ole Miss has got a big enough name, and they're in a badass enough conference. They'll handle their business. I've been watching this for years. I've been pointing it out to people for years. When a team like Ole Miss or Georgia will schedule 4-0, and Georgia's got one they have to deal with Georgia Tech, but it's boring and it's not fun if you're a fan in terms of TV, but it is so smart. I'm watching that thing last night, Catch, and I watch a team like Michigan jump Texas, playing the 2 games they have in the last couple of weeks, then go look at their non-conference. Go look at who the SEC teams get made fun of all the time for playing the Samfords and the Western Carolinas and all that stuff. But in the end, I've never heard of a committee ripping on Alabama because they scheduled Chattanooga, ever. It doesn't happen.
Michelle's so right. It is. There's a benefit of the doubt that Arch doesn't get, despite all the context of everything that goes into playing that game in Columbus when they play it.
Great point.
He never gets he might actually be a Heisman finalist if you don't play that game, and then he gets to play the entire month of September, he has the normal preseason trash game against a helpless opponent that gets him in a rhythm. It's the Oklahoma standard. It's what Oklahoma did under Stoops.
Yeah,
we would watch Oklahoma in the 2000s, Chad, and the whole month of September, Texas fans would go, OU looks like dog crap, and they're not playing anybody.
Yep,
they're 5-0, but and then they get to October though.
Yeah,
and they've got momentum, and they've worked out a groove. And so, yes, Michelle, you're damn right, Michelle. Yes, you are.
And then catch to our schedule discussion from an earlier show. We talked about the whole schedule. What if you just flipped this part of the schedules for these teams? What if A&M started the year in South Bend and Texas didn't go to Columbus until September 13th? How would those two games have looked different, felt different? And to your point, Arch Manning feels different. The Marcel Reed evolution feels different if he's got to start in Notre Dame and then Arch gets a chance to get into the schedule and doesn't play till the 13th in Columbus.
I mean,
very different.
It's not an excuse. It's just what happened. And, and these things, there was a combination of scenarios that created the dynamics that led to all of that. It was avoidable. It was a personal choice. And look, I know that thing was teams back out of games all the time. Sometimes they pay a fee.
Yeah.
Oh, we had to pay Ohio State $250,000 to. So what?
The
Do you know
bottom
how much
line,
making the playoffs is worth?
The bottom line probably is if you gotta play it, don't play it if you don't play it if you don't have to. But rule number 2 would be don't play it to start the season.
By the way, I'm going back to the day that Oklahoma beat beat Alabama.
Uh-huh.
There were legitimately Texas fans who were like, I think we need to root for Oklahoma today because it'll make the Oklahoma win look better.
Yeah.
Honestly, those fucking people deserve to be slapped. I know it's a couple of weeks later that in real time, we were like, that's dumb.
They never listened to you.
What's rule number 1? I have this. And you know what? It's the same rule for A&M. It's we all share the rule.
Yeah.
No good ever comes out of anything good happening to the other school. Ever.
Right. The argument should be pretty simple once you have it out in front of you.
The moment that you're like, yeah, but what's this? Stop.
Yeah. Just stop it. Yeah. Just stop it. But it is going to be a wild. I want to hear catch, especially now that the executive director of the CFP has changed. And that new guy, he is deer in headlights and he does not love trying to answer these questions. By the way, did you catch his 6'7" attempt at a joke? That was bizarre. Anyway, I want to see what happens if Texas were to beat A&M and do it maybe definitively. Maybe it's a double-digit kind of score. And then a couple other things happen maybe that Texas would need to happen. I'd love to hear that committee tell me how they're not including Texas. I would love to hear the explanation of how a 3-loss team, but a team that beat 3 top 10s and lost to 2 top whatever.
Make them explain it. You got to make them explain it.
Yeah. Walk me through that. If you're just going to tell me, you lost to that Florida team. All right. Okay. If that's all you're going to do. But if you pretend to love good wins, but that's the trick they get to play, catch. They get to love good wins sometimes. They get to rip on bad losses sometimes. So that's what I want to know with Texas. They would have 3 wins you can't ignore and 2 losses that you can't rip them for. Now, what do you do? And you're going to make an argument for who? Utah or Michigan or whoever these teams are? I think
it's funny, like Sandman will jump in and say, don't lose to Florida while ignoring Oklahoma. Why are we not telling Oklahoma, don't lose to Texas by 17? Like, every team that we're talking about has 2 or 3 losses in this discussion. Everybody's got a game that you can, in a snarky way, go, don't lose to that team.
To be fair, though, Oklahoma's 2 losses don't feel like Florida. Oklahoma's losses are Texas and Ole Miss, and it feels like,
I don't feel like the Florida game, as bad as that was, Texas didn't get beat by 17. And they just didn't. Like,
but it was right, but it was an inexcusable loss based on what we've seen play out.
It needs to be it's the kind of thing. It's like when Texas beat Oklahoma in 2008, and there was Texas beat Oklahoma, and at the end of the year, Oklahoma was perceived to be playing better football than Texas. And it's like, they beat those motherfuckers by 10. It wasn't a last possession game.
Right.
When it was over with, it was decided. It was a knockout. And that is what Texas did in that game. So I think and I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying the sport as a whole, as a conversation, is doing what you're saying the committee does, where it isolates games that we decide, well, that's really bad. And if you hit us with a what about Oklahoma losing to 17 to Texas, they're not so far apart that 17 shouldn't matter. And they're just like,
right. Because they'll say because of the record at that point, they'll say, well, they're not comparable teams. That's what they're still doing with Notre Dame and Miami. Miami's getting closer, but they are still making the argument. Yeah, Miami beating Notre Dame on the field, that doesn't matter. All these other things matter. We think they're better. We think if they played tomorrow, Notre Dame would win. So we've got the Irish hire. Deal with it.
It's bananas. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. We couldn't get Brian Jones today. He had to rearrange his schedule. But tomorrow, we told you we were going to do a show for Thursday, Thanksgiving show. So Thanksgiving at noon, go to the video section to find it. Brian Jones. We'll devote the whole thing to him of CBS Sports, talk about what games he's going to be dealing with. They got the Oregon-Washington game, but obviously we'll talk about his memories of playing the Aggies, and does he think Texas gets the win this year in Austin? That's coming up tomorrow. Prize Picks at 9 a.m., Outsiders at 10 a.m., and that show at 12. That's a full Thanksgiving plate. So check it out. Thank y'all for supporting us. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and come see us at TCH Social Austin for the game Friday night. This is Orange Bloods Live.